There are lots of stories in the news that are of great concern to me, and I'm sure they are to you as well. And lest the year 2024 slip by us and we all say goodbye to it, let's get some McCarrick news on deck here. It just comes slipping under the radar here. And The Pillar is reporting this. I'm going to be putting a link to this in the show notes for you at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. The Pillar reports McCarrick trial on lifetime suspended status, judge rules. Just ruminate on that a second. I interviewed James Gregory, who was the victim, one of the many victims of former Cardinal McCarrick, and McCarrick will never go to jail. The rest of his life, however long that will be, he will never spend one day of it behind bars. I just want you to let that sink in as I read this to you. A Wisconsin judge ruled Friday that a sexual assault case against Theodore McCarrick will remain suspended for the remainder of McCarrick's life, but that the charges against the former cardinal cannot legally be dropped or the case dismissed. Oh, isn't that sweet? It goes on. Walworth County Judge David Reddy told McCarrick's lawyers on December the 27th that while he is not competent to grant the request to dismiss the case, it will remain in permanent suspension until McCarrick's eventual death. Earlier this year, Reddy suspended the criminal trial against McCarrick, 94 years old, after a court-appointed psychologist found the former cardinal incompetent to participate in his own defense. The new ruling extended the suspension, meaning that McCarrick will not face a criminal judge during his lifetime. At a hearing last week, which McCarrick did not attend, Reddy said that the state laws on trial competency prohibit a judge from formally dismissing charges against a defendant found incompetent to stand trial. Let that sink in. If Mr. McCarrick is in fact incompetent because he has dementia, can he make a good confession at this point? One can only hope for his own sake, for his own soul, that he has made a good confession prior to this moment in his life where he appears to be, or at least according to the court, that he can no longer make a good confession. I would love to hear his confessor, whoever his bishop is, wherever he's living right now, whoever diocese, where the bishop there, come out with a statement that says, I have to corroborate, he in fact is not capable of making a good confession because of his dementia. And if he is capable of making a good confession, then he needs to go to prison because justice needs to be served. It's an injustice to see this man not behind bars, in my humble opinion. But the article goes on. Quote, however, the court will not set any further reviews on this matter, and it will remain in suspended status until the defendant passes away, close quote, Reddy said, according to the court records, first reported by WLUK. With the case against McCarrick ended, the former cardinal is no longer facing the prospect of criminal sanction in any U.S. jurisdiction. In August of 2023, a Massachusetts judge dismissed assault charges against McCarrick in the state, also because the former cardinal was found to be impeded by dementia from participating in his own defense. McCarrick was charged in April with one count of fourth-degree sexual assault in Wisconsin, stemming from an alleged incident in April of 1977. He is accused of fondling an 18-year-old boy's genitals when they were both guests at a house in Geneva Lake. I won't go on to give you the disgusting details of other parts of his case, but it is gross, disgusting, evil, and diabolic. Wisconsin's Department of Justice announced that the charges came out of an attorney general's probe into Catholic dioceses in state. That probe has faced criticism from both Catholic official and some victim advocates. The Milwaukee Archdiocese has criticized the review as targeted anti-Catholicism, while one victims advocacy group says the state's AG has not done enough to pursue records on alleged sexual abuse cases. The alleged victim in the Wisconsin case, identified by Fox 6 as James Gregory, said McCarrick was close to his family and alleged that he was 11 years old when McCarrick first exposed him and soon after began to assault him, frequently at parties. I've interviewed James Gregory more than once. I would encourage you to go back and listen to those interviews. You can find them linked up in our podcast over at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. It's a difficult story, but you should be aware of it. Don't put your head in the sand and pretend like it's all going to go away someday. Because when McCarrick, the summer of shame, 2018, when we all discovered what everybody apparently knew, but nobody wanted to talk about out loud, that he was abusing seminarians frequently, it took the case of James Grime to really expose it and bring it into the light. Is Christ not the light that vanquishes the darkness? Is it not our job to put that light up on a stand, up on a hill, so the whole world can see it? Isn't it our job to turn the light on so the cockroaches must scurry, so that they know they don't own the kitchen? And yet, McCarrick got dismissed quietly from the Vatican, became Mr. McCarrick. Instead of facing actual trial at the Vatican, which he should have, but didn't, now he's Mr. McCarrick. And guess what? He gets a pass for the rest of his life. Just let that sink in. Just let that sink in. And back in 2004 in Dallas, when McCarrick was ahead of the USCCB, we were all given this whole new policy that we have to follow in the Catholic Church as lay people. We have to go through a course. We have to get tested. We have to have our backgrounds checked so that we can volunteer at our local parish, for instance. While all the bishops got a pass. It was McCarrick that gave us this back in 2004, along with Wilton Gregory, who, by the way, all accounts seem to suggest that Wilton Gregory is about to retire. It was Wilton Gregory and McCarrick in 2004 that gave us this new great shining system that somehow hasn't prevented abuse. But boy, oh boy, is the insurance making out. Don't you think? It seems very interesting to me. It angers me to no end. But here's the article over at The Pillar about Gregory. Will an outgoing Gregory keep an incoming promise? Doubtful, but okay. More than 8 years ago, when Donald Trump was still a candidate for the Republican presidential nomination, he stood before voters and made a promise, the article says. I will always tell you the truth, Trump said back in August of 2016 at a rally in the battleground of North Carolina. America is sharply divided on whether Trump has since come even close to keeping that promise. But he will be sworn in next month for a second term of office and is likely to promise a new commitment to truth and transparency. While political Washington prepares for the change of administrations, ecclesiastical Washington is also talking about a coming change. Rumors are swirling among D.C. Presbyterate that Cardinal Wilton Gregory's retirement will be announced soon, possibly even before Trump's January 20th inauguration. Sources close to the dicastery for bishops have confirmed that the cardinal's retirement is imminent. At first glance, Gregory and Trump may not seem to have much in common, but on April the 4th, 2019, when he was announced as Washington's Archbishop, Gregory repeated Trump verbatim. He stood before reporters and D.C. Catholics and made a pledge. Quote, I believe that the only way I can serve the local archdiocese is by telling you the truth, close quote, the Archbishop said on that day. Going on to say, quote, I will always tell you the truth, he promised, echoing the then and future president. Now, with seemingly little left on his term of office, Gregory has time yet to make good on that promise. Let me just point this one thing out because I think it's the most interesting of the story. Most concretely, Gregory has been criticized for declining to release the financial records of Theodore McCarrick's unmonitored archdiocesan designated fund, one from which he drew his living expenses as diocesan bishop and from which he is believed to have given significant financial gifts to other diocesan bishops, Vatican officials, and proteges. It has long been speculated that access to McCarrick's financial records would indicate both those who might have protected him and those who might themselves be implicated in allegations of misconduct. While Gregory promised transparency, requests for those records have long gone unheeded. The cardinal likely has concerns about liability, advice from attorneys, and the firm belief that ignoring McCarrick's questions will make them go away. But on the other side of the ledger is a lingering promise. I will always tell you the truth. Close quote. I'm going to link to this article for you so you can read both of these pillar articles and ponder on the last day of 2024. Have we seen justice, transparency, or have we seen more of the same, more of the cover-up? I'll never forget hearing the words of Bishop Lopes of the Anglican Ordinariate, who said, we all knew. And why didn't you say something? Why didn't you do something? I'm not blaming Lopes for anything, by the way. I'm looking at all of the bishops in the United States, let alone around the world, who received Cardinal McCarrick and his envelopes of cash that he was giving out. James Grime was on several of those trips, witnessed it firsthand. Child of the St. Gallen Mafia, the former Cardinal McCarrick will spend the rest of his life a free man while his victims go to therapy to deal and to cope with the abuse and the brokenness in their mind, their body, and their soul. Did you like that video? It's okay. You can admit it. It's perfectly fine. Hey, we cover the big stories of our day, from inside the church to outside the church to all points in between, and we do it from a Catholic perspective. It's called A Catholic Take. It's a radio program Monday through Friday. We live stream it right here on this channel, by the way, so make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We would be very grateful to you. And don't forget, you're going to want to watch this video right here because you don't want to miss anything.